I'm Steven Wolfe. Can you hear me? Is that on? Okay. I work for the county commissioners. I'm the environmental services director and have been so for 10 years now.
Steve, can you turn the power on your microphone? Do you see the switch? It's on the side.
It's green.
Okay. Okay, yeah, or just talk.
There, is that
There,
better?
that's better, yeah.
I'm 1 minute back. I'm a former business owner, construction company, and then I came to the county 17 years ago, and have been serving the county commissioners as the environmental services director for the last 10. I have seen 4 county commissioner boards come and go. I think I've learned quite a bit from the predecessors, and I hope that I can be proud. I can make them proud for a lot of people in this commission. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kyle Shanklin. Grew up in Orville, Ohio, and I graduated in 2006. Got on city council in Orville 3 years ago. Fell in love with it. Felt like it could make a real difference. I feel like I have, and I want to continue that. Ultimately, at the county level, I think I could be a good person for you in the office. I lead with integrity, transparency, and engagement. I will quite literally come out to your house, grab an issue, and talk to you about it. I don't mind. I will spend all day with you if you want. That's my personality. That's the way I will always handle things. I do it right now in Orville. And I will not give up until we get it resolved, whatever it may be. And I hope that I can make you guys proud if elected.
Thank you for Wayne County Farm Bureau for hosting this evening. My name is Matt Martin. I've lived in Lincoln County my entire life, except for the 4 years I served with the United States Marine Corps. I graduated from Northwestern High School and the Wayne County Schools Career Center. My wife Amy and I are going to celebrate 20 years this March. We have 2 children. We have Cole and Idra, who both attend Norway schools. We have a small hobby farm with an orchard. We have apples, peaches, pears, blackberries, elderberries. We raise some chickens and a few pigs every year. And I too am a member of the Wayne County Farm Bureau. I currently serve as the Wayne County Fair Manager, Secretary, and Treasurer. I wear 3 hats there. I live my life based on biblical principles and serve with thinking and common sense approach. I utilize my skills in leadership, organization, relational building, and having a vision. I just completed a 6-year term on the Wayne County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I still currently serve as a trustee on Main Street Lister Board. So, and I'm also a member of Rotary. The coolest project is our flag down there, so we're really proud of that.
You each have a seat behind your name placard there. And we'll begin with grilling. Did somebody turn the spotlight on you? Okay. Question number 1, we'll start with Matt. What would be your top priority to benefit Wayne County as you become a commissioner? What do you see as your most important priority?
I believe the most important priority is building relationships. Life is all about those relationships that we have with people, to learning those people, to learning their roles, and how to utilize the skills that they have in the best way to serve the people. So I believe that's the absolute most important role as a Wayne County Commissioner, being a representative of all the people, not just select individuals or parties. You're serving all the people.
Okay, Kyle, same question. What would be your top priority?
Top priority for me would be making sure we continue in the right direction as a county. Right now, 70% of the county is farmland. We must keep that at all costs. Without our agriculture, we lose our heritage. We also have to keep the business in here. Big businesses bring in people, bring in tax dollars. So we have to have a nice balance of that. And as commissioner, I'll put you people first. And we got to do what we can to keep our business and our agriculture going. Thank you.
Okay.
Make sure you're still again. Okay.
There's about 117,000 people in Wayne County. 48% of those live in rural areas. So they all have wells and septic systems. And there is not a single disposal site in Wayne County anywhere. All the waste goes out of the county. My first priority would be to build a disposal facility here in Wayne County. 2 years ago, I talked to commissioners about this. We really hadn't had enough time to put everything together. At that time, people were paying 6 cents a gallon to dispose of waste. It's now 17 cents a gallon to dispose of waste, plus preference charge, because it's going to Stark County, it's going to Medina County, and Ashland. So that would be the first thing that I would be looking at and we even have a facility in Bryson, just off the highway, that would make a good spot for that disposal site. Thank you.
Okay, we'll just pass we'll start with you on this question, Kyle. The farming community in Wayne County has been seeing a lot of pressure from development and also pressure from new sources of energy. Companies wanting to put up solar panels, companies wanting to put in windmills, that sort of thing. It also puts pressure on the farmers to be able to hang on to enough acreage to make a living. And of course, it all affects the prices of land. Do you see yourself, or do you see the opportunity to start new programs or extend current programs here in Wayne County to assist in keeping a balance between farms and development?
There has to be a perfect balance, and I'm not one for eminent domain. I absolutely hate it. It's the worst thing ever. We shouldn't be taking anybody's land, especially by force, which is what happens today. They'll come in, they'll make you an offer for market value. We can't do that. You have to have a balance of it. And as far as the solar goes, I don't think big businesses should be coming in here, putting up solar panels. If you as a farmer want to put up solar panels to help power your farms and offset the cost of the electricity, which is increasing, I think you should be able to do that. But by all means, I do not want to see any big businesses with solar panels come in here, taking up farmland. We can't have that. It's going to ruin the county as it is now, and that's not the direction I want to see this county go.
No, pass the mic back to Steve.
Boy, I'm glad this came. How much time do I have? I sit on the 201 committee, and what the 201 committee does is study the development in the county and equate it to the comprehensive plan, which is basically to preserve farmland. The solar deal that is coming is being partially done by BP, and I really believe that because of the policies that the federal government's doing with solar, and they're giving money to these companies to build these solar. BP doesn't really care about what happens to Wayne County. They're taking a tax write-off. So basically, the federal government is selling us the road that we're going to hang ourselves with. Okay, so this particular, the county commissioners did make policy for 50 kilowatt limit on these. So this solar panel we're planning at 49.99. And I didn't really realize until I talked to somebody in Orville that the Orville plant is only 60 2 kilowatt. So this is a small city solar panel plant right here. And if any of you have ever had your hands in a high voltage control panel, that's got to be what it feels like underneath that thing. And how are the animals and the life that live in that land, how are they going to survive that? Are they going to stay? Are they going to die? I know when you get your arms into a high voltage panel, the hair of your arms will stand up. It feels like worms crawling on it. Is that what it's like underneath one of these things? I don't know. They haven't even been around long enough for us to understand what happens to this land afterwards. If we lose all the insects and the worms and all the other stuff that makes the land fertile, maybe this is never going to be able to be used again as a farm. So a lot of things to consider that we really don't know. So I would really want to, I'd like to have some answers to some of those things before anything like that could actually be approved. Or if it could be held up, that would be the way I would try it. Is they got to answer the question first. Thank you.
Our two greatest resources in Wayne County, number one is the people, number two is our land. We need to protect that. I think alternative energies such as solar are good ideas. However, I think they have their place. I would like to see them in downtown Morville or downtown Worcester on top of some buildings, supplying power for those buildings every day. Our farmland, once it's gone, right? So when you go in and you put all that cement in the ground and all the steel in the ground, it'll never revert back to farmland again. So we have the richest soils in most of the country, right? And so it does hurt when we see that farmland taken away. What's also scary though is when we have our rights taken away. So I think we have to be really careful with that. We don't, I live out in the country, and I raise animals. I don't want somebody to tell me how to raise my animals or live on my property. So I think we need to provide alternative solutions for these people, give them options. If an aging farmer's getting to the point where they're selling out, they don't know what to do with it, there's opportunities out there, farmland reservation, to protect that land for the future generations. There's some really good programs out there for people to mentor young farmers who don't have the money to buy it or the opportunities to inherit a farm, to get involved and they work with that farmer and that legacy is passed on, the land continues to be preserved. But I live just a mile down the road from a product waste facility, and that scares me. That's my water aquifer, so it's very personal to me when something like that is a mile down the road. I also know that I don't want to tell somebody else what to do with their land either. So through conversations and encouragement of finding alternative solutions, I think that's the best source to do.
Okay, pass the microphone down to Steven. Your turn to be first at bat.
Appreciate it.
Okay, what do you see right now as the most pressing needs in Wayne County? Not just the one that you talked about first, your top priority, but if you could, even a list of pressing needs.
Well, there's quite a few things that I see that are going to be issues in the future. As development begins around the county, one of the things we got to think about is as we increase the density in these areas, we're getting ready to build a sewer plant in Sterling. When we do that, we're inviting development into that area by building that plant. Right now, if you want to build a home, you got to have about 2 acres of land to be able to do that. As soon as I run a sewer line past that land, now you put eight houses on that piece on that parcel of land. What we got to do is make sure when we do these things, they're controlled. They end up meeting the comprehensive plan to try and preserve farmland. And we got to make sure that there's money diverted to the townships to be able to support the services that they're going to have to provide for these new homes that go into these areas. You know, they've got to have, right now, a fire truck costs $800,000 to $1 million. These small areas have a hard time taking care of things like that. So we got to make sure that if these areas are developed, that we make sure that we either provide funds or figure out a way. One of the things that I'd like to do is have, the county would have a grant writer that's available to the townships, to the small villages that can't afford one, to be able to try and find grant money to buy the things that they need to provide the services. The government only has a couple of jobs. One of them is to protect its citizens, and the other one is to take care of its infrastructure. So, but we gotta have money to do that. Okay.
Yes, all the way down.
I think the question was,
Oh, I can repeat it if you'd like.
sure.
What do you see as the top priorities for different things? Just a laundry list of priorities for the county.
Sure. We just touched upon it there, the energy sources. I think you cannot avoid that subject. I think it has to be something that head on. You know, there's been several articles in the daily record about these solar projects. I live in Holmes Wing Electric area. Many of you do too. We just received a letter of concern for power. So this is a really pressing issue. One of the other things that the Wayne County Health Department just came out with an 8-page report of what's going on in Wayne County. I think we need to pay attention to that. There's some true health concerns, mental health concerns that we need to address. We have a mental health board. That's an amazing thing. So I think we really need to use those and continue investing in those programs like that. Law enforcement, we talk about protecting and serving. We need to do something there. We're building a jail. We don't have enough deputies, corrections officers to man that jail. We need to figure out how to do that. We don't have enough deputies on the road. Right now, they're running 2 deputies on the road at any given time. I live in Congress Township. Down in Plain Township, if something happens, you might get one there, but he doesn't have backup. That's a scary thing. So we need to figure out what we can do to improve that. I think one of our biggest transitions coming up is there's a lot of elected officials retiring right now this year. We just saw them all. We saw a laundry list of positions and offices that are being replaced and new people are stepping in. I think we need to work together. We have a great opportunity here to connect and just continue to move towards the future. So I think those the power issues, the people issues, the security issues, I think those are our biggest things that we need to improve upon right now.
The most pressing needs for what I see right now, there's a revolving door at the jail. People go in for petty theft, burglary, they're out a couple days. We can't continue that. We need to do something. We need to keep them in there. I work at Gun Sports, and we have the same person come in every 3 days, stealing, trying to steal $500 worth of stuff. Sure, we can't stop them every time, but it's getting worse and worse. And it's always the same faces. They know they're going to get right back out. They're going to go right back at it. The other thing is we need to work with our state government, federal government, reduce taxes, find ways to make it a little more feasible. 40% increase is rough, and I know Jarl worked hard to try and do what she could at her level. We just need to keep that pressure up. 40% is a lot to a lot of people, and right now, people can't afford it. My parents, they're on Social Security, they struggle every day. And this 40%, it hurts. It hurts, and to see them going through this, it makes my heart break, and that's the direction that we're going. We can't continue that direction. We, as local politicians, we need to put pressure on our federal regulators and whatever. I'm not a huge politician, so I don't know the exact terms. And that kind of covers my third. We need to keep, put pressure on with the power regulations. The emission standards are going crazy. I mean, you gotta put death in your diesel tanks to even meet regulations. I mean, that's just one more cost you gotta pay. It's getting out of control. I could go on and on because it angers me. Something fierce the direction we're going.
Okay, and I believe we have time for one more question. Okay, if you would, just give the mic back to Matt, and we'll run the same game as with the first question. One of the things that you would be doing as county commissioner is belonging to the State Commissioners Association. And there, of course, there's going to be a lot of commissioners from other counties that are not of the same party as you are. You need to be able to work collectively with them because that Commissioners Association heavily influences state laws which then apply to the counties. So what would you do to work collectively with both sides of the aisle, you might say?
What I appreciate about this level of government is it does not have to be as political as what other ones do. Working together, you're representing the entire population. Wayne County, this is our neighbor right beside us. It doesn't matter if they have their own side of their name or each side of their name. That's my neighbor, that's my friend, that's my family. So I think working together is a vital thing. Being on the Wayne County Fair, we're fortunate to have a very similar group. It's called the Ohio Fair Managers Association, and we too get together. We talk to each other constantly. What one fair is doing versus the other fair, what works, what doesn't work. And I think there's a real opportunity there in the same group to not try to reinvent the wheel, but find something that fits us. So maybe they have an idea, we can edit it and make it work for us. But I don't believe that there has to be an us and them. I think that was mentioned earlier. I really appreciate the statements like that because we're all in this together, right? Relationships at the end of the day, that's what matters. Is who we are and how we treat each other, and I believe that's what this is. A commissioner is an individual, right? I have my ideas, but we're also balanced by two other commissioners. So it's not a dictatorship. It's not, hey, I'm going to get what I want. I don't have an agenda. The agenda is Wayne County. The agenda is to keep us moving in the direction that we already are going and continue that. So that's what I feel.
Working with, I want to say other people at the other side of the aisle, I said earlier, we all have to have integrity, and we can't lose sight of that. We're all in this, hopefully for the right reasons. We want to make sure that we continue to work for the people, not ourselves. We have to put our own agendas aside and work collectively with each other for the betterment of Wayne County and the rest of Ohio. I already, being on city council, we have had Democrats on the council with us. And we have to work good together. We don't vote on anything bipartisan or anything partisan there. It's all about the city of Orville right now. And that's the way it should be at the county level. It should be about the county, all politics aside. We need to work together with each other. And that goes for the rest of the state of Ohio. When we go meet with those other commissioners, we need to work together to what's going to benefit the counties and not ourselves. And that's by using integrity.
Well, I don't have nine. Okay, my job, if I'm elected commissioner, is going to be to take care of the needs of people in Wayne County. I sit in the commissioners' meetings and have for the last 10 years. I don't hear that kind of talk. I hear the talk that what is the best thing to do for the county. that's where I stand with this. We've only got a couple of jobs here. We just need to do them right. I sit on a committee in Columbus. We have 9 professionals that we do training for water and wastewater professionals around the state. There's a lot of different ideologies out there. My job is singular. I have to do, my job right now is taking care of the environmental integrity of Wayne County. Okay, and that's what I do. And I don't look at any party, and I don't look at any affiliations to get that done. I don't need to. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, we've reached the point where now we'd like you to make a 1-minute closing statement. That'll start with Steven.
Thank you.
Okay, this is like the 3rd different thing that I've been to since I started this. I'm not a public speaker. I made a complete fool out of myself the last couple of times. I know I did. If anybody doesn't get anything else out of this, I want them to know who Steve Wolfe is. Okay, I'm a citizen of this county and have been for many, many years. I want the best for everybody in Wayne County, as I do with my own family. I don't want to see anybody disappointed. Obviously, people will be, but if we try to do the best we can to preserve the things that we have that are good in Wayne County, I think most people will be happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to share here this evening. I just want you to know who Matt Martin is, and I want to serve as your next Wayne County Commissioner. There's a lot of change happening throughout our community at the state level, at the national level, and I believe that we need strong leadership. My leadership styles are mixed between servant leadership, transformational leadership. I want to empower those around me to step up and fill those roles as well, and give them the opportunity to succeed. By combining those 2 styles, what we'll do is we'll encourage and we'll ensure a future, generation to come next and continue the strength of Wayne County. I do have some cards back there on the table, some information to follow me, and we just need to remain committed to together as a strong Wayne County. I do ask for your support, for your vote for Matt Martin, Wayne County Commissioner.
I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to come out and speak to you today. One of the things that I will have as a commissioner is an open door policy. If you want to call me at 10 p.m. because you have a concern, call me. I'll listen. I'll come out to your house at 6 a.m. I don't know a lot about agriculture or anything like that. My grandpa was a meat cutter. He did some of your beef back in the day. That's the extent of what I know. I would love to come out, learn all I can, because I can better serve you if I understand you. And for me, that's the engagement part of my campaign. Transparency, that's the open door policy. If you have a concern, come on in, talk to me, call me, email me, whatever. I will listen, and I'll do what I can to be there for you. That is all I have, and I want to thank you again for this time. It's been a pleasure.
Please state your name. could, I think we'll start behind the table just try to do it bigger. Thank you. Okay, some still spectators, or produce down at that end of the table. Oh, okay, Josh, we'll let you start. This microphone's at this end. We'll start, and Mike will go this way for the introduction.
Well, hey everybody, my name is Josh Hlavaty, and I'm super excited to be in a room full of fellow farmers. So my dad is actually here tonight. Him and I run a 20,000 bird chicken farm. So if somebody smells like chicken crap in the room, there's a good chance it's either me or him. So just to give you a little bit about myself, I was born here in Worcester. I grew up over in the Dronesville area. Right next to the Lincoln Golf Course, actually, and then now I live right next to Charlie High School in the house of my grandmother, which is pretty cool. Since we got a minute, I'll just finish with this. There's a number of problems facing the agricultural community right now, from tax issues to CAEV property soil types to China buying up our farm ground. And I'm looking forward to serve and to address some of those issues here tonight in our questions, but also to serve and be someone who is an actual farmer who's an elected politician down in Columbus to represent you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dennis Finley, and I retired last year after 34 years as an educator. I have a pretty good idea what goes on in the schools today. 18 of those years, I was an ag educator. Actually taught 10 years over at the Wayne County Schools Career Center. They had a meat bakery and food science class. So some of you might have done some of your meat processing over there. Also, up until the first of the year, I was mayor of the village of Dalton. And I didn't win the election. I didn't lose the election, I tied the election. So it ended up becoming where they had to pull a name from my hat, and I never would have run for this spot had I won or lost, but the fact that I tied is the reason why I'm here tonight. So thank you all for coming out. I'm Dennis Finley, and thank you for your interest in being here this evening.
Hey everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Grande. I was born in Worcester, I was raised here, and I live here. I didn't move here to run for office, I was already here. Right, guys? Okay. I graduated from Worcester High School. I graduated from Allegheny College, and I got a law degree. I'm a juris doctor from the University of Akron School of Law. I have a master's degree in law, too. I am a constitutional originalist, and our state needs to stand up against our federal government and stand up for our Constitution that makes our country what it is. I'm the only person up here who is a member of the Farm Bureau in Wayne County and has acreage here in Wayne County. And Josh mentioned something that I'm very strong proponent of, and that's getting the Chinese Communist Party off of our farmland here in Wayne County in Ohio. And they're hiding behind shill corporations that we will get past. I could go on, we'll talk more.
Hi everyone, Meredith Craig, running for state representative here in Wayne County. I am from Smithville, graduated 2009. Understand the value is important to you. I grew up on a farm here in Wayne County. Understand the importance of getting our youth involved in 4-H, FFA. It builds hard work, dedication. It's something that I grew up in. It's a big reason why I am who I am today. Led to a hard work ethic and something that I'll take down to Columbus. So over the last 10 years, I have worked in and around the State House. Had the wonderful opportunity to serve in the Ohio Senate under our state senator at the time. Then went and worked under our state representative, Ron Amstutz, and then served in different roles since then. Know the ins and outs, know what buttons to push, who to trust, not to trust. I have no doubt I am the best and most qualified candidate to serve you, ready to hit the ground running. Look forward to diving into these issues. And thank you to the Farm Bureau for putting this event on and look forward to it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Albright. I'm running for state representative, a Goldstown resident and a member of the Farm Bureau. When I go around and kind of talk to folks about why I'm running and why I'm the most qualified candidate, I focus on two things. One is experience, and the second is being a fighter. First, I've got over a decade experience, more than any candidate on this floor today, working in the legislature. I worked in public policy in the Senate, it's 27th District representing Wayne County. I worked in the Ohio House of Representatives. And then in the last several years, I've worked on the executive side, working and representing members of the National Guard to ensure they have the training and equipment they need to be successful. In addition to that, when I talk about being a fighter, I spent 12 years wearing the uniform of the U.S. Army. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan, most recently in Europe, so I know what it means, just the same as the folks in this room, to fight for something you believe in. And when you choose somebody to go to Columbus to represent you, you want to have the confidence that you're sending someone who's going to fight for the principles that we stand for and our way of life, and I will do that for you. My name is Bill Albright, and I hope to earn your support.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, hang on to that. We'll start with the first question. And it actually is the same first question we asked the county commissioner candidates. What would be your top priority as a state representative to benefit Wayne County?
I think right now, I think the top priority is something that everyone in this room has seen as of late if you look at your tax bill. I think taxes is one of the biggest things I'd like to work on. I'd like to try to eliminate the income tax, but ensure that that elimination doesn't get transferred to property owners. So that's going to affect our farmers, it's going to affect those within this county as retirees, and we can't shift that tax burden to them. So I'd like to look at ways we can increase the 36K limit for the homestead exemption and increase the availability of that as well as owner occupancy. There are things I think that will lower the tax bill for a lot of folks. So the more time we have more money in folks' wallet to make decisions that they can make in their homes, they can get for our homes. I think my priority is going to be addressing taxes.
Yeah, so it's really hard to nail down one priority. We have a lot of issues facing us, but I have to echo Bill's thoughts on this. As I've been out and about talking to voters, one of the number one issues I'm hearing is property tax and the impact of that. I imagine most of the room, you have CAUV applied to you, which I know is a little bit of a relief compared to property taxes, residential property taxes. But again, we have to start addressing, especially as I'm talking to seniors, even if they have their house paid off, they're struggling to make ends meet, they're struggling to pay the bill. We're just learned the other day where they had to put it on a credit card and then pay it off that way. And that is not something that our citizens of this county need to be facing. And so while it's an uphill battle, while it's going to take time and effort, I do think looking at the tax structure across the board is going to be a big issue that we're going to have to face regardless. So, thank you.
I agree with these candidates. The major issue facing us is taxes. First of all, property taxes. Columbus wants to make our county charge more taxes on the people than our county even wants to charge. So 3 times our county has come back to Columbus. Columbus has said no, you need to charge higher taxes. I'm going to do everything I can to turn that the other way and allow our county to charge the tax rate they want to charge. And even that is too much. In the way our money is spent, if you look at our budget, it's ridiculous what the money is getting wasted on. If the money went to the schools like it's supposed to, from all our real property taxes, we could have schools built out of solid gold taught by Ivy League professors, but it's not. It's being squandered, wasted, and funneled into things where it shouldn't be going. Another thing I believe in, the taxes on senior citizens who are still in the workplace. I don't think that any person over 70 years old should have to pay income tax on their income. since they need as much money as they can to get by. I think our seniors deserve better treatment than that. They've paid taxes their whole lives. And our sales tax. I think it's very realistic to be able to bring our sales tax down to 5%. And in addition to lowering the taxes, we really need to focus on what the money is being wasted on. If you take a look at our state budget, there's a lot of absurd things in there, and we can't just have one omnibus budget where it's all in one lump. We need to do line item accounting for where all the money is spent.
As mayor, I learned firsthand that predators prey on the weak. They can either be weak individuals or weaknesses in the system. I believe we need to address the weaknesses in the system that allow people to exploit others. Another thing I see as a major concern coming up, the illegal immigrant population is going to hit the budget of the state of Ohio, the likes of which you've never seen. So when you have 10 million house guests that come to the United States, you have these large cities that do not have enough money to continue to house them, to continue to feed them. The federal government will start to divert money that normally comes to the states, and that's going to be a concern. We're going to have to start looking at spending everywhere, because there's only so much money to go around. Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. We have three main areas that we spend money from the general fund: education, medication, and incarceration. So education is probably is more than half of it. It's probably like 57%. The other part, the Medicaid side of it, we receive 70% of our funding for Medicaid from the federal government. When money from the federal government becomes tight, where will they decide to put their cuts in place? That's a concern that we're going to have to address, and those are the things that the state legislature are going to have to address here in the next coming years. 2028 is a year where we have money that's available for building projects. That money disappears in 2028. If people do not have their projects started locally, there will be no additional funding, I think, in the future.
So just this afternoon, I got to talk to an elderly couple in Warville, two former teachers of Warville City Schools, and both, they honestly reminded me of my grandma and grandpa, and they both are worried that they're not going to be able to live in their current home if the property tax situation doesn't get fixed. And I think that's the situation for a lot of people. And obviously it's hitting farmers a little bit different with CAUV, but it's an issue that everybody from the farm to the city in Wayne County is dealing with. There's a couple solutions to that. One of the first solutions, the thing that really I would love to, a bill I'd love to drop day one that we need to get moving on it's called a circuit breaker. Basically what it does is your property tax value is going to be determined in a very similar way. And this is a quick fix, for an initial quick fix. It's going to be determined in a very similar way, but you contrast the amount that you owe with your income. So for those who are on a fixed income, are on lower income, who own their homes, there's no situation they would be taxed out of their homes. So I think it's immoral for a government to tax people out of their homes. So that's one of the first things I want to address. And just briefly, since they gave us 2 minutes, another area that is a top priority for me is making sure that the types of roads that we are building with new projects are actually suitable for the types of vehicles that we have in Wayne County. We're putting in roundabouts and weird places in this county that are bordered by a number of fields. How would we expect farmers to be able to get into their fields if their former access points are now catty-cornered by a roundabout and tight roundabouts for those reasons? So we need to make sure that we're in constant communication. I will be in constant communication with ODOT to make sure that those projects are correct for the community, not just what they feel like funding at the time.
Okay, thank you. You'll pass the mic down to Meredith. We'll start with her for the next question. Okay, Farm Bureau prides itself in being a bipartisan organization. We do not check the political membership of any of our members. There has been a problem in Columbus in that the two parties seem to very rigidly stand with each other as opposed to the other party, and the aisle seems, between the two parties, seems to be getting wider and wider. What would you do as a state representative to try and bring about some sort of coalition and compromise between the two parties?
It's a very timely question. We have a lot of discourse, a lot of divisiveness down in Columbus, and believe it or not, some of it in the Ohio House is inter-party. We do have a speaker's race already at hand. We have a speaker who is a current Republican speaker elected by a majority of Democrats. That obviously has angered a lot in the Republican side, as it should. But all of that being said, we have to come up with solutions, right? We are at a stalemate right now in Columbus because leadership cannot work together. Now, it does not help that the current speaker and the current Senate president are running for speaker against each other. So, not sure if anything will work out with this General Assembly, but moving into the next one with a lot of new members coming in, a lot of new, new ideas, wanting to work, wanting to pass meaningful policy. I think there are opportunities. I want to be part of that leadership. I look forward to doing that. It's going to take effort. It's going to take more than just me. But I do think, Wayne County is losing in this because we are just at an all-time stalemate. We are on record of passing the least amount of legislation this General Assembly, and that has to change. And so that's something I would like to be part of moving forward. Regardless of political affiliation, we do have to work to find meaningful policy solutions without compromising our integrity and our values. And that is something I plan to do so that I'm serving you to the best of my possible ability. So, thank you.
Well, both parties need to concentrate on finding common ground. And what we want is the best lives for ourselves and our families. Democrats love their families, Republicans love their families, and we want to reach out. I will reach out when I'm elected across the aisle. I will build relationships with our Democratic fellow statesmen, and I will always concentrate on what we hold in common. We have common values of doing the right thing, and let me just say that our current government in Columbus, which some of these candidates are a part of, is notoriously corrupt. We've had the biggest scandal in Ohio's history with the first energy scandal, and who knows who all was in on it. When I get down there, I'm not going to represent Columbus. I'm going to represent Wayne County. I am from Wayne County. Wayne County deserves someone who is going to represent Wayne County, not be a part of the old, stale Columbus politics. No lobbyists, no political action committee money coming my way. I'm standing up for the people of Wayne County. I'm not going to play politics down there. I'm going to do the right thing, even if it's not the popular thing. I'm not going to do anything that is not right and doesn't glorify God. That is my number one reason for doing this, to glorify God. And there is so much corruption down there. I'm gonna ferret it out. I'm gonna get to the bottom of what's going on down there. I'm not part of the Columbus cabal of compromised career politicians. I'm not supported by any compromised career politicians. I haven't taken a penny of political action committee money. I haven't taken any corporate interest money, unlike some of the other candidates up here. And if you do your research, if you go on the Ohio Secretary of State website, you can see where their money's coming from. A high percentage of the donors of these candidates up here are taking money from outside of Wayne County. 92%, 96%, 79%.
Excuse me. Time's up.
Thank you. We'll continue later.
When I took office as mayor of Dalton on January 1st of 2020, the individual that was named the president of council was the person that opposed me. And we were on completely and totally different sides on things. What I started to do was, as I worked on things, I learned that the more I communicated to him what I was doing, it allowed us to build trust. At the same time, prior to that, a few years prior, I mistakenly was part of a group, and if you want a good leader will tell you that when they made a mistake. I was part of a group that was looking to detach the village of Dalton from Sugar Creek Township. And so that created a lot of ill feelings. So another part of my job was to rebuild the relationships between the village of Dalton and Sugar Creek Township. So at the time, Jonathan Hofstetter was president of the Sugar Creek Township trustees. And if you talk to Jonathan, there were, in a given week, we would talk probably at least 5 to 6 times a week. And so I'm embarrassed to say this, but there were days I probably talked to Jonathan more than I did my wife. And that's how you heal relationships. Now, the problem is, and what I found out through my experience is, outsiders tend to come in and want to fan the flames. You have to identify who those folks are. And then, once you know who they are, and you're able to expose them for who they are, then that's how you build consensus. So once everyone knows who the true enemy in the room is, then you can move forward.
So, I'm of a belief that when we're talking about bipartisanship, a good idea is a good idea. I don't care if a Republican came up with it, if a Democrat came up with it, if someone who doesn't even care about politics comes up with a good idea for Wayne County, I think it's a good idea. A good idea goes above party lines. However, I think we need to find common ground, as one of the other candidates said. The issue is when the common ground, if we can't agree on whether or not a boy can be a girl or a girl can be a boy, that's a non-starting point. If we can't agree on that a baby in the womb is not alive and should be protected, that's kind of a non-starting point. If the left thinks that America is racist and people that are in middle America or in these conservative communities are by just proxy of their upbringing racist, it's kind of a non-starting point. So I appreciate the Farm Bureau's commitment to bipartisanship. I'm not running as an independent or to be open to all ideas at all times. I'm running to promote truth first off, and I'm running to promote common sense. If we can't agree on the gender of a person and their biological DNA, that's kind of a non-starting point. I'm not willing to compromise on issues like that. And, we have problems in our communities. For example, solar stuff, I don't know if we're going to get a question asked for that, but the reason that solar is coming to Wayne County and becoming a thing is being pushed by the left. The right side of the aisle isn't interested in buying green energy. This is the left side of the aisle. So we need to actually look at who's attacking our community and who wants to take away the Wayne County way of life. We can be bipartisan when it's a good idea, but we need to make sure that it's actually a good idea.
Thank you. I think this is one of those opportunities where experience matters. And I think my military experience, I had a battery of 115 soldiers. And it's my job as their commander no matter where they came from across the state of Ohio, no matter what their economic background was. I've got folks in my formation that are far right MAGA, and I've got folks who are far left Black Lives Matter. And at the end of the day, we have a mission to accomplish. In my experience, has been able to take those folks, bring them together, set expectations, find a common goal that we can execute our mission, and that's no different. The idea that with the left or right, last I checked, Wayne County isn't 100% Republican, it's not 100% Democrat. And so there's a majority of Republicans in this county, but the minority voice still counts for something. And so having the temperament and the experience to take all voices and take into consideration so we can find a common goal, that should be our ultimate goal. And I've seen firsthand, I've seen members of the legislature who go down there as blow hard, saying that they're the conservative patriots and they get nothing done. And I've seen quiet individuals who work diligently and they get a lot more done. But you don't see their names on TV, you don't see them on the news. And so I think recognizing what good members look like, what bad members look like, and recognizing that our job is there to represent Wayne County, all of Wayne County. The groups of Wayne County that I share political opinions with, and to represent those who I don't. And so I think having the right temperament, the right experience, to make sure we're doing the work that matters. Because if I leave Columbus and come back to Wayne County, and I can't look at the people in the eye like I am right now in this crowd, recognizing I did the best of my ability to represent all of the people, then that's something I have to live with. And I will be damn sure that I'm going to live every single day proud of the work I've done. Thank you.
Okay. Pass the microphone to Frank, please. We'll share with him. Okay, I'm going to give everybody a quick history lesson. I'm the only one in the room old enough to do that. The U.S. Constitution since 1791 has been amended 27 times. 10 of those just at the start of the Constitution. So almost half of them were there from day one. Ohio wrote a Constitution in 1803 that got amended enough times that in 1851 the state had a second constitutional convention and wrote the Constitution that we currently have. That was in 1851. Since then, that Constitution has been amended 173 times. What can we do as a state to get our Constitution, our very framework of our state government, to a point where it is not so easily amended and where it is a meaningful amendment when it happens?
Well, I am a constitutional scholar. I have a doctorate in law. What we need to start doing is living up to the words of our Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Ohio. Our states were modeled after the United States of America itself. The governor, kind of like a president. State Senate, kind of like our federal Senate. And state congressmen, kind of like our federal congressmen. What we need to do is start living up to the words of our Constitution of the state of Ohio. We can require a supermajority vote to amend our Constitution. We can really, it's more about living up to what's right in our Constitution and making it more right if we don't think it's right. So I don't think making it harder to make a constitutional amendment is necessarily the best thing, but doing the right thing is the best thing. How about biblical instruction in school? If you've read our Ohio Constitution, you will see that biblical instruction was a fundamental tenet of the foundation of our educational system in Ohio. And now it's been replaced by these radical left-wing ideologies that are the complete antithesis of what our Ohio Constitution espouses. We need to live up to the words of our Ohio Constitution. They were very carefully penned and very carefully thought out by the people who came before us. We need to get our Bibles back in the school and radical left-wing rainbow flags out of our school. We need to do right by God, do right by our state, do right by our country. And I will do everything in my power once elected to this position. Thank you.
We had 2 controversial issue ones on the ballot pertaining to constitutional amendments. It was very unique because all the pro-life people wanted to go ahead and put the supermajority in. And when that didn't happen, then the folks that were more pro-choice then decided they were going to have a new issue one. And the new issue one that was passed with a 50% majority has the ability to be overturned. So if it is the will of the people, we will have the ability to do it. When I think about supermajority in the original issue one, just wait for 3 or 4 years, because the same folks that were opposing that supermajority will now be pushing it. The biggest issue that we have during these elections where the general population votes on constitutional amendments is the fact that we don't have election integrity. People can lie all they want during a campaign. There is so much misinformation that goes out to people, they truly have no idea what the true story is. Most voters don't. We need to do a better job of educating voters, and we need to somehow have criminal penalties for individuals who commit voter fraud. Fraud is also misinformation. If you are knowingly presenting misinformation, if you are misleading the general population, there's a problem, and those folks need to be held accountable.
Can you repeat the question one more time just so everybody knows what we're talking about?
Sure. Right now, it's a fairly easy situation to be able to amend the state constitution. Okay, our state constitution has been amended so many times, it looks nothing like the original document. And so what can be done to try and either make it more difficult or at least more sensible to amend the Constitution?
So if you remember in August, when we got the first issue one of 2023, that was what that constitutional amendment was seeking to fix. That basically making it so that you would have to pass with 60% to change the Constitution instead of the 50% that we currently have. Because as Dennis just mentioned, there was a lot going on with the abortion issue that we knew was coming in November, so a lot of the party politics got rid of, not even party politics, but there was confusion about what even the August issue was. I think that the right thought it had to do with abortion and the left thought it had to do with abortion, but reality it had to do with shoring up our Constitution. And the truth is our Constitution right now is more apt to being changed by big money groups in California and in New York than it is to being changed by Ohioans getting together with a good idea. Remember when I talk about good ideas being good ideas? Well, I hope you have about $100 million behind you, because otherwise your good idea doesn't look like a good idea. And that's what happened in August, and that's what happened in November. So, so we need to fix that. It's going to take a constitutional amendment. It's going to take an issue on the ballot to do that. Just to warn you about what's coming down the pipeline now that issue 1 in November passed and issue 1 in August did not pass, fixing the Constitution issue. There's already a constitutional amendment that is coming down to make it so that to be able to vote, one, you do not have to pre-register. You can walk up to the polls day of voting. So this election is going to be held on March 19th. You could waltz in on March 19th and say, I would like to vote. And they would say, well, who are you? And instead of providing a photo ID, you would say, well, I'm Josh Hlavaty, and you just sign your name. And that's all the proof that would require. This is the type of stuff that's coming down the pipe. We're not going to have an election worth having any integrity for it, because we'll hardly have a system worth preserving. That's what's coming, and I think that this is something we really have to fix and fix soon.
So there's already good practice of being asked a question, not answering, so I'll answer the question, yes, we should increase the threshold. Here's why. In August, as was stated, it was a goal to increase to 6%. A constitutional amendment should have wide consensus and wide acceptance, and that should be where this isn't a question of, are we trying to take away the votes from people or trying to make things more difficult. It's that anything that should be in the Constitution should have a high threshold and should have a high degree of agreement to be changed. So absolutely the threshold should have gone up. And that's one of the things I'm proud of. During issue 1 back in August, I took the lead here at Wayne County to deliver yard signs, to attend town halls, to get out information about the implications of issue 1, because it absolutely should be raised. We should have a higher regard and higher respect for our Constitution. Anything that's going to be changed, everything that we just saw with regards to abortion should absolutely be part of the Ohio Revised Code and should be deliberated to the General Assembly, not do our Constitution. Because if we allow the threshold to remain as it is, and to allow that, it's probably no chance that we had a change to our Constitution in an off-year cycle with low voter turnout to put abortion in our Constitution. That is not by chance. That was intended. And if you can do that with abortion, then you can do it with other issues that are unpopular, whether it's restricting red flag laws with regards to Second Amendment, whether it's bump stocks or silencers, it's going into other salient issues. This is absolutely an intended pathway to no longer use the General Assembly to put things in the revised code and be deliberated upon by the General Assembly, but instead bypass voters and bypass the entire system to use the Constitution in an off-year cycle where there's low voter turnout and misinformation to get unpopular opinions into our Constitution. So absolutely yes, unequivocally, we should increase the threshold.
Yes, we need to make changes. We can deliberate why August failed. I think there are many reasons for it. I'll throw stones at my party here for one quick second. As soon as they put, parcel numbers in our state constitution for the casinos, they created a monopoly, and the Republican Party should have addressed it then, and they didn't. So fast forward, we keep seeing, these issues come before us, one after another, and we're going to continue to have to fight this. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the lack of civility, the lack of willing to work, I could blame our current speaker for why we have an August election and not a May. I think if we would have had a May election on this issue, it would have been a different outcome. And I think a lot of that you can blame on the current leadership. So I would 100% be supportive of making another effort. I do think it's important to make sure you get signatures from every county. I know that was something that voters disagreed with, but I think we should. We are, seeing the abortion amendment, the marijuana amendment get passed in, the big populated areas, but the rural counties are standing up and saying no. And so we need to make sure that if we're going to have an amendment before us, we get approval from each 88 counties. So.
Thank you. Okay. Yep. It's going to be your turn to start then. Okay. I know that everybody probably touched on this in your quick 1 minute thing that you did at the start. But what particular job experiences or other programs, educational programs that you've been involved in or whatever, or education that you received really qualifies you to be a state representative?
I've held a number of different elected positions already. Having been mayor, it gave me an opportunity to see things from a bigger perspective. Prior to that, I was a council member. And prior to that, I was on the Board of Public Affairs. And they tend to handle disputes pertaining to water and sewer bills and things like that. I have also been a member of the Mental Health Recovery Board. I was for 2 terms. And I was a school board member, not only for down local schools, but also for the Career Center. Through my employment I went on and got my master's degree from National University in school administration. So I have a school treasurer's license. So I understand the school funding situation probably more than what a lot of other people might typically know. Also, as a school board member, as part of the Ohio School Boards Association, I represented every single student and school district throughout Northeastern Ohio. I was part of the group that put together the Legislative Platform Committee. Over here at Tri-County ESC, I was actually on their Legislative Affairs Committee, so it's given me the opportunity to already work with individuals from various parts of the community. Like I said, not only in the Mental Health Recovery Board, but also from the education side. There are a lot of things in education that are going to have to be cleaned up. And I know one of the things I talked about in the past had to do with outside interference. So, state mandated testing must go. No Child Left Behind has created a situation where teachers teach to the laziest student. That needs to change. So that's something we're going to have to work with them at the federal level in order to be able to correct it.
The overarching area of expertise of mine is being a farmer. So everything I'm about to list after this, I was currently working on the farm every day, mostly every day, while I was doing it. So obviously, like I already said, family owns and operates a 20,000 bird chicken farm. That's what I do every single day. Out of high school, I ended up going to DC with a group, as well as Columbus, to advocate for pro-life legislation, specifically the heartbeat bill. So as a 19-year-old, these four congressmen were sitting in meetings with me. They're representing millions of people, and they're sitting there talking to 19-year-old Josh Hlavaty about pro-life legislation. But it was something that was very important to me and important to our country to make sure that we're protecting our most vulnerable. The other area of expertise I have is I actually worked in the legislature for just under a year, about 11 months, for State Rep Reardon McLean, who's endorsed me. He's represents Wyandotte, Crawford, Marl, and some Marion County. He actually was the first state rep's district to have to deal with some of the solar and wind projects and fighting them. The first wind project that was proposed that was not allowed in a community was in Crawford County, and I was working for him at the time. So that's a big area where I know how to actually go after these people and to make sure that they don't get to just take up our farmland however they want. That is ruinous for me, but before he announced that he was running, I was the only candidate that could say that they got votes in Wayne County. I ran for Hillsville School Board while I was still living over in the Drumfield area, but then Dennis ruined that for me. And then I went to Ashland University and got a bachelor's in political economy. And that economic part is really important to me because at the end of the day, if we don't exist in a good economy, everything else around us is not going to run smoothly. So that area of having that degree is going to be very helpful for me and for you as we address these economy problems in the state of Ohio.
Outside of casting votes on the floor of the House, my experience is I've done the majority of the work as a member of the legislature through legislative staff work. Whether it's decision casework as a legislative aide, whether it's setting up interested parties meeting with folks from the district, from businesses within the district, hearing how recent legislation may affect businesses. This is the work I've done for a little over a decade, both in the Senate while representing Wayne County and in the House of Representatives and on the executive side. And this is important because you can't send someone to Columbus without on the job training. We just talked about how visceral and how the political climate is down there. Having someone down there who doesn't understand how legislation works, the impacts of the lobbying community on Cap Square, the impacts of interested parties, the way that the governor's office tries to influence, either by slowing down legislation or getting behind it. These are all things that come with experience, and experience matters. In addition to that, an educational background, I graduated in political science, my master's degree in public administration from Ohio University. And so from both an academic and as a practitioner of public policy, I understand the ins and outs of how influence affects the policy making in Columbus. And sure, you can learn it, and you can learn it over time. But we just talked about how difficult things are in Columbus, and how we need to fight for what we believe in, and we need to fight for the priorities of Wayne County. And by the time you learn the ropes and understand the dichotomy of how the public policy works in a realistic way, that's what separates me from the rest of the pack. And that's why I'll be effective from day one, because I understand public policy, I understand from an academic background as well as a practitioner. Thank you.
Just want to touch on two things. First and foremost, I know the county. This is my home. This is where I grew up, been raised, learned the values, like I said, hard work and determination on the farm, understand the importance and value of teaching our youth through 4-H, even sports, FFA, getting them into the workforce early. That continues to be a thing I hear about. We have a wonderful career center here, and we need to emphasize it more and more. And so again, I understand what issues we're facing. It's been wonderful to be out and about over the last year, learning more directly from everyone what issues we are facing that we're going to have to tackle in the upcoming years. But like I mentioned earlier, I do have extensive experience working in Columbus in a variety of different offices. Have experience in both chambers, have served this county in both chambers under terrific leadership. I intend to do that to the best of my ability. I always want to be transparent. I want to always know what you all are working on. I want to be an ally to the Farm Bureau, to all of you, and make sure that the issues before you are before me, so I'm doing my best to support you in those efforts. And I look forward to getting to know all of you throughout this endeavor.
Hey everybody, again, my name is Grande, and I'm the only candidate up here who took the time out of my life to go to law school, to study our nation's laws. It wasn't fun. I learned a lot, and I'm going to apply all that knowledge to doing my best to bring our county and our state under what should be good government. And good government will live up to the expectations of what the Bible says to do. My primary purpose in life is to glorify God. And if I glorify God, I'm going to be doing right by our county, our state, and the United States of America. I grew up on our family farm. I woke up when it was still dark to feed a bunch of hungry livestock. I know the value of hard work. I'm the only one up here who can say that I have drafted legislation. I have it ready to introduce to the Assembly to protect the farmland from state foreign national ownership. I call it the Ohio Farmland Repatriation Act. We're going to get to the bottom of who's buying up our farmland and make sure it's by American people for American purposes. There are other threats to our farmland here, including invasive species that we have to take care of. I also already have legislation penned to protect us against what issue 1 was trying to do. We're going to protect our unborn children. We can do this civilly, and we can protect those unborn children. And also, I'm not a carpetbagger. I didn't move here just to run for office. I didn't establish residency just so I could run for office here. I've lived here the whole time. I love Wayne County. My family all lives here. My friends live here. My grandparents are all from here. My parents lived here. And I can assure you, when you vote for me, I'm going to be looking out for you, someone who lives in Wayne County. Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay. And the final question. It's no mistake that farming and agriculture of all kinds is important to Wayne County. In fact, it's the reason it is so important to Wayne County is because God bless Wayne County. 68% of the soil in Wayne County is prime agricultural soil. We need to try and preserve that. There are some state programs in place right now that are questionable as to how effective they are. And do you have any ideas of either other state programs or what you might do with current state programs to make them better to help preserve farmland in Wayne County?
This is a great question, something I've thought a lot about, especially with solar, so we can go right back to that. I know you're probably all tired of talking about green energy and solar and wind. But right now, the situation, obviously, many of you know in Green Union Townships, East Union Townships, we've got a 400-acre proposed solar project that's going to be going in here in the next couple of years. Okay? If you haven't heard about that, look it up. It's very scary. 400 acres of some of that prime real estate that was just mentioned is going to be disappearing out of food production and into electricity production. The reason that that's happening is not because this farmer just loves green energy. It's happening because, by the way, this land is not being bought, it's being leased. So the land is not even being bought by this company. They don't even want to be in Wayne County for long term. They just want to lease the land, have it there for a number of years, and then leave. And potentially, maybe they'll take the solar panels, maybe they won't. But the way that we can help in one of these systems I'm proposing to keep that land in food production is if many of you that live in the floodplains potentially are familiar with H2O Ohio. It's a current project, basically amount of cash down at the state that the state will pay you to not farm land that is going to be most likely like 99% flooded every year. You know, obviously if we have a drought, it won't flood. But it's land that's not going to actually produce crops. The state pays you not to put land on it. I am proposing that we create another batch of money, like H2O Ohio, and we allow that money to fill the gap between the money that could be being made if you put a solar project down, because that's why people are doing this, because they want to make money from it. Doing that instead, I'm proposing that we allow the state to come in and make it so that if they want to rent that money out to farmers, we will make it so that they are not going to lose out on potential profit. They're going to be able, my time's up, but they're going to basically be able to not lose out on the profit they could have had with solar, and they're going to be able to keep farming and keep it in food production.
Thank you. I think it's important to recognize the threats to farming is both external and internal. I think as we start looking, whether it's foreign investments, whether it's solar panels, whether it's a variety of these things that are external, I think we need to do a couple things. 75% of all the land in Wayne County is calculated under CAUV, so this is a significant issue. So I think we need to look at taking into consideration selective zoning of agricultural districts that at the local level, local township municipalities can zone agricultural districts so they can protect their land, and has to go through a local process to make sure that the land usage doesn't change from its intended farming designation. Additionally, I think we can start utilizing agricultural land banks so we can assist young farmers who want to get started. A farmer to come off the street and start a farm, $750,000 plus acreage, it's very difficult. So connecting young farmers and families with resources that do exist, whether it's loan interest loans to the USDA, make sure those resources are communicated to the farming community. In addition to that, I think we need to work with our local governments, selected zoning districts, land banks, connecting resources, and just continuing to advocate for farmers to make sure that protections are there to continue a county that is very much dependent on agriculture, either directly or indirectly through subsidiary businesses that select whether it's vertically integrated or horizontally integrated today. It's more than just farming. It's a livelihood of businesses all across this county. So I think if we look at this in terms of protecting our farmers from both, and again, we're also talking about, this is also a housing issue. One of the biggest things that the farmers have to deal with is the expansion of Worcester in housing, and that agricultural land is prime real estate. So if we start investing in multi-family properties versus single-family homes to provide housing, we can slow the rate of growth for Worcester and the impacts it has on farmers.
So several areas to touch here. I think the legislature has done a great job of taking some efforts in this space. I know we have the new beginner farmer tax credit that's underway. I think we need to continue with that. I think we need to continue to look at ways to reach the younger generation. A lot of our county is generational farming. We have several century farms, and it's important to make sure that we are doing everything we can to make sure those farms stay in operation, whether it goes to the next family or is sold to another young farmer that wants to take it up. And so I do think it's in our right and our responsibility to make sure that happens as much as we possibly can. You know, I do think while we are dominant in the agricultural industry, we are also dominant in the manufacturing industry. And I know we are facing immense growth in both areas. You know, we are facing a housing crisis, to put it as lightly as I can. And I know there have been efforts to try and do a third industrial park in Orville. You know, trying to be creative with that, working with the farmers, working with the private businesses to ensure that the efforts there are known. The intent is known, right? This isn't some outside group coming in to take out this farmland that may not be in operation. And so again, trying to think collaboratively on how we address both of those issues without taking out farmland, but also growing our manufacturing industry close to the city limits so that utilities can be run easily and everything can be smooth and efficient. Again, I can't emphasize the importance of youth programs. I think we continue to support our county fairs, our local 4-H groups, make sure we're hitting youth young so that we grow them up and teach them the importance of the agricultural and the dairy industry in our county.
We can look at what other states are doing that Ohio is not doing, and that's protecting our Ohio farmland. Iowa and Nebraska have already passed legislation that prevents foreign nationals from purchasing their farmland carte blanche. We need to do something. We need to do it now. I need to get in there and I need to submit this legislation to the Assembly and get this passed. We need to protect our Ohio farmland. Wayne County has double the dairy production of any other county in the state of Ohio. The United States of America has more arable land. That's what we call land that you can farm. It's called arable land. We have more arable land in the country of India. We have more arable land than China. This is our most valuable resource. It is a fundamental necessity that we have. We can forego everything else, but something we cannot do without is our food. And we need to protect our nation's crops, our nation's livestock, and Meredith touched on a good program that we have for beginning farmers tax credit that I think we can do more to help our small farmers and protect the small farmer from being subsumed by giant multinational conglomerate corporations. We need to help the small farmer because, you know, if we all we have is mega farms, we're going to lose the character and the substance and what we really are as people in Wayne County. You know, we have the biggest agricultural fair in Ohio, and I know from personal experience that if you don't help the Ohio farmer, it's going to be bad news for everybody outside of our state, in the whole country. I mean, we are the breadbasket for the whole United States of America. We can feed the hungry with all our surplus food, and I'm going to do it. Thank you.
Preservation of farmland will only occur by the preservation of the family. So things have to be passed from generation to generation, and making sure that that can happen without estate taxes, but also we need to do something with the children of the farmers. So we need to instill in them the drive, we need to instill in them the passion. We are extremely blessed here in Wayne County. We have something that I don't think any other county that I know of, definitely not in Ohio, and probably very limited across the entire country. We have the RABC. We have the ATI. What's unique about the ATI is anyone who wants to become an ag educator has to start their first 2 years here in Worcester. These are folks that are typically, they are your officer team for the state FFA officers. They're here. They're very dynamic public speakers. They spend most of their time here in Worcester. We need to find a way to get our ag kids, the farm kids here in Wayne County, more actively involved with the folks that are over there. So they would be more than willing, and even farmers. You need to find ways to bring some of these ag kids, these dynamic individuals to your farm and bring in kids, because farming is a very, very unique industry, and unless you have the passion for it, it's going to die off. So one of the things I like about being an ag teacher that I really appreciate is that every single person that had an ag background had a tremendous work ethic, and that only comes from the family.
Okay, thank you everyone for answering the questions. Now, we started at both ends of the table. We started the welcoming or the opening remarks at this end, and we started the questions at that end. So I'm going to ask you to pass the microphone to Frank, and we'll start in the middle of the table and have the closing comments.
Thank you everybody for sitting through this tonight. Really appreciate you all coming out. I just want to speak from the heart here. I am doing this because this state and our county needs major help, and I'm going to do it. And I'm not beholden to anybody. You take a look who I'm taking money from. These other candidates up here have taken 79%, 92%, 96% of their money from outside of Wayne County. I have not taken 1 cent from anyone outside of Wayne County. I have not taken any money from any political action committee. I have not taken any money from any compromised career politicians, and I haven't taken money from any lobbyists. I'm not a lobbyist. I think lobbyists should be out of Columbus. I don't think there should be any lobbyists in Washington, D.C. I love this country. I love studying our Constitution and our state Constitution too. It can't be ignored anymore. I am going to reach across the aisle to the Democrats, and I want to get things done. I want to work with everyone. We have a supermajority as Republicans in the state assembly, and there's no reason we cannot pass every single good piece of legislation that God wants us to pass. And we need to protect our children, we need to protect our elderly, and we need to stand up for what's right. And I swear to you, on the altar of God, I will do that with everything that I am. Thank you so much.
When I decided to run, I wanted to make a difference. There are 5 of us in front of me. 4 of us are not going to be in the general election. I have a favor to ask of you, even if you're not going to vote for me. Please go to my website, finley.vote, Finley.vote. On there is a take action tab. There are areas that you can actually have a positive impact on folks in Wayne County. And so one of the things is, I'm from public education, but I also believe it's important to be able to fund Christian education. There's a link on there to be able to actually divert $750 per person, $1,500 per couple, from the money you're already paying on state taxes to be able to go to a Christian school. I already have a link up there for Kingsway I have one there for Central Christian, and I met with folks over at Worcester Christian School. So, but there are some other opportunities that are there. Please go take a look. Thank you.
So I just want to say in closing, there's a lot of politicians, frankly, in Columbus that have never worked an honest day's work in their life. But this room has, right? And I just want to encourage all of you that when you go to make that vote, I want you to think about the type of person you're voting for. I want you to think about the types of things that they're promoting. Also, I want you to think about the place where their values are coming forward. Right now in Columbus, we've got people who want to bring Columbus values to Wayne County. That's the situation we have right now. What I want to do is I want to take Wayne County values to Columbus. I think our state is going to be better served that way. I think Wayne County's going to be better served that way. And frankly, the people in Columbus think that the power is in Columbus, and the people that work in Columbus and live in Columbus. I don't believe that. I believe that the power is with the people here in Wayne County. I think it's with Hazel. I think it's with Roger here in the front and Roger Murray in the back. I think it's with you. I think it's with you. And that's the type of state rep that I want to be for you, is someone who understands that the power is here in Wayne County, and it's not in Columbus.
First, again, thank you to the Farm Bureau for setting this up. I appreciate you and your lobbyists, because Farm Bureau has lobbyists who effectively represent the farmers of this county. But most importantly, you've gotten to see up on this stage and see for yourself both the temperament, the experience, and quite frankly, which candidates answer questions, and which ones kind of walked around and told you some good stories. And you know what's at stake. You know what the environment in Columbus is, and whether or not you can send somebody for on-the-job training, or you're going to send somebody who's going to represent you, who's going to fight for you, and who's going to not only fight, but bring back solutions. And I think if you, as you look at the folks on the stage, it becomes more and more clear who you want to represent you. And my name is Bill Albright. I'm running for state representative, and I want to bring you vote, and I appreciate you.
Well, first, thank you, Farm Bureau, for putting this on. I know it was an endeavor, it took time, it took energy, so thank you for allowing us all to be here tonight. Thank you all for coming to hear from us. I know we have a crowded field, so you're taking every effort you can to be educated, and that is appreciated. Like I had mentioned, extensive experience, born and raised here in the county, the values important to you. The same values are important to me. I plan on fighting day one for you. Down in Columbus, we want to make sure we're doing all we can to bring resources back, making sure that our farmers have what they can to thrive and grow here in our community. My name is Meredith Craig. We'd love to have your support on March 19th. Early voting starts a week from tomorrow. Feel free to go early vote. I'm always happy to talk. Please reach out. Love you guys soon as more. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Hopefully you can stick around after the program is over and talk to the people who might want to ask you a personal question or whatever. Okay, before everybody starts thinking about leaving, we do have one more guest who has arrived that I think you might like to hear from. I will tell you that I've gladly, for more than 50 years, I've been friends of his family. And believe it or not, that's because 55 years ago I drove a beer truck. But anyway, Mr. LaRose, can you take a few minutes?
I would. Thank you so much. Thanks to these candidates. They're here for the job interview, and I'm glad that you're here to hear from them, because it's important that we have great leadership down in Columbus. So thanks to all of you guys for taking on this challenge. Yeah, my name is Frank LaRose. Great to be back in Wayne County. I had the honor of representing this community for 6 years as your state senator. I represented Summit, Stark, and Wayne County. And specifically, as it relates to really the topic of the day, agriculture, I'm the only candidate running for the U.S. Senate that has an agriculture background. I grew up working on a farm in Copley Township. In fact, I stopped by there today, Mark Bender's farm on Minor Road. He wanted me to drop off a couple of yard signs. I got to serve on the Ag Committee during the entire 8 years that I served in the state Senate. That was a committee I asked for because I reminded the Senate President each time I represented Wayne County. Proud home of OARDC and ATI, where, as we just heard, where a lot of our great agricultural professionals are educated here in this state and really throughout the nation. Truly an institution that the whole country should look to for an example. And so being able to serve on the Ag Committee is something that I really value. By the way, I was honored to earn the Friend of Agriculture designation during my time in the state Senate, and that's something else I'm proud of. By the way, that's something I'm going to carry to the U.S. Senate. I know I'm the one standing between you and your fuzzy slippers tonight getting home, so let me just give you a couple things. First of all, in this race for U.S. Senate, it's important that we select a candidate who can defeat Sherrod Brown. I think that's important. I think that's something that you all understand. But it's not good enough to just beat Sherrod Brown if we're going to send another establishment Republican, go along, get along, corporate elite kind to Washington that just wants to be invited to all the cocktail parties. We need to send a true, tested, proven conservative to defeat Sherrod Brown and to replace Sherrod Brown. And here's why. When I was 18, I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, defended it all against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Grew up in Copley Township, left for basic training just a couple weeks after high school. I have any fellow veterans here, by the way? I know there's a Vietnam veteran sitting right here. I can see that by his hat. God bless you all. Thank you for serving. The lifelong commitment that we made to preserve and protect this Constitution doesn't have an expiration date on it. But built into that is a promise that we love this country so much that we're willing to risk our lives for it. There are few things in this world that are so precious, so dear, that you would risk your life for. America is one of those things. Your faith, your family, this country are worth dying for. And that means they're also worth living for. But this nation is government. If we don't act soon, we'll be the first generation of American history to leave this country weaker, poorer, and less secure. I, for one, will be darned if that happens on our watch. And so it's crucial that we change the direction of this country, that we save this country. That's why I'm running for the United States Senate. Really just three things. Three main issues that I want to focus on in the Senate. There's dozens of things I want to get done, but first it's the economy. These aren't just numbers on the page. I know that you all recognize this. I had a reporter ask me a couple days ago, some little reporter said, oh, but the economy's doing great. Look at all these economic statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I said, the economy's doing great for who? Not for those of us that work for a living. Maybe if you live off of a stock portfolio or a trust fund, but people that work for a living are struggling under this economy because everything costs more. I don't need to tell people in the agriculture industry that everything costs more. The price of fuel and the price of fertilizer and the price of seed, and not to mention the rising property taxes because of the inflation that's happening. I mean, everything costs more, but wages are not rising to keep up. And so at the end of the month, there's a gap between how much you make and how much you spend. That's hurting Ohio's families. We know how to fix that. It's fixed by getting the government out of the way, by cutting taxes, by streamlining regulations, by unleashing the engine of human prosperity called the free market. It means getting the bureaucrats out of the way. The worst things that happen, especially to agriculture, don't happen on the House floor or the Senate floor. They happen on the 20th floor of some office building where a federal bureaucrat that's not accountable makes rules that you all have to live with, and they have the same power as law. We need to rein in those bureaucrats, and we need to do energy exploration right here, meaning drill for oil, drill for gas, mine for coal, use the energy that works when the wind isn't blowing and when the sun isn't shining so that we can actually power our economy. So there you go. The second issue is the border. Every candidate's going to talk about this. I get it. They all go down, they pose for a photo op, they take a field trip to the border, tough guy photo by the border. Listen, for me, this is not a photo op or a field trip. I served on the U.S.-Mexican border. I volunteered to be part of a counter-narcotics task force with the 101st Airborne Division. I was chasing drug runners across the desert 24 years ago. It was bad then, it's worse now. We must secure our border. I've called for deploying military down there. That's not an extreme idea. By the way, I served again on the border in uniform almost 25 years ago. We need to secure the border, not because we hate the people on the other side, because we don't. That's what the left tries to say. We want to secure the border because we love our country. And we insist on a secure border, and that means we need to take on the drug cartels. That means there will be no amnesty, no citizenship, no birthright citizenship, lifelong ban on government benefits or any form of citizenship if you come into this country illegally. And yes, that means that we also must support those that have broken the law, because a law that's not enforced is not a law, it's a suggestion. The third thing is this: parents' rights. Listen, the most important job any of us will ever have is being a mom or a dad. Lauren and I are raising 3 children, an 8, 10, and a 12-year-old. We are not interested in co-parenting with the government. I don't think you all are either. We want our children to be raised with our values. We have bureaucrats at the local, state, and federal level who think they know better. And this time of indoctrinating children instead of educating them has to end. Classrooms that are teaching children to hate each other based on race, teaching children to hate this country based on a skewed version of our history, that has to end, and we as parents need to reassert our rights. And by the way, the governor made a very bad decision a couple of weeks ago. Thank God our state legislature overturned that, and we stood up and said, by the way, Scott Wiggum back there was part of that, so thank you, brother, for doing that. We have to protect children in Ohio, and that's something that we have to continue. Anybody that would dare subject a minor child to a gender transition is guilty of child abuse in my mind. And by the way, my daughters could beat the boys on a soccer field, but they shouldn't have to, right? The only way for sports to be safe and fair is for girls to compete against girls and boys to compete against boys. So again, my name is Frank LaRose. I'm running for the United States Senate so we can defeat Sherrod Brown and save this country. 5 weeks from now, that's when you get to make the choice. March 19th is when this primary election occurs. Reagan talked about a time for choosing. We as a party have a time for choosing. If you want a pro-gun conservative, I'm the one that's endorsed by Buckeye Firearms. If you want a pro-life conservative, I'm the one that was endorsed by Ohio Right to Life. If you want somebody that has proven themselves when it comes to cutting taxes and streamlining regulations and reducing the size of government, I'm the only battle-tested, proven conservative. So I'm asking you for 2 things. First, I'm asking for your vote. I don't take this for granted. This is a year-long job review. I'm asking for your vote. But the second thing is I'm asking for your prayers. Pray for this country, and please pray for our candidates. By the way, pray for all of our candidates, including my opponents. Just don't pray for them to win, but do pray for them, as people of faith who believe in that. With your vote and with your prayers, I'll defeat Sherrod Brown, and we'll save this country. God bless Wayne County, and thank you so much for being here, and happy to answer your questions y'all have for me. Any questions? Only tough ones. Yes, sir.
2020 not the safest best election ever.
Not the safest best election ever, but I can tell you what we did in Ohio is an example for other states to follow. Here's why.
You won 47 ballots out of 5.8 million, which screwed up, right?
I don't know the numbers, but I can tell you this: when we did our post-election audit, which we always count the paper and compare it to the electronic result, Ohio had a 99.9% accuracy rate. By the way, there was only one Secretary of State in the entire country who was endorsed by Donald Trump in 2022 when I ran for re-election. It was me, because we take dead people off the voter rolls. I don't apologize for that. We check IDs, which is common sense. We have voting machines that are never connected to the internet. We always have a paper trail. We always audit it. We always have bipartisan oversight. It doesn't happen in every state. In fact, there's a bill that I helped write that's in Congress right now called the ACE American Confidence in Elections. It's got 200 sponsors. It's going to pass the House, but it's going to die in the Senate because Chuck Schumer doesn't think election integrity is important. When I served in the U.S. Senate, one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to pass the ACE Act, not just in the House, but in the Senate, and we're going to get it on Donald Trump's desk, because I think he's going to be in the White House in 2020. Other questions? Anything else? All right. God bless